Today's thought for the weekend is, can you choose your personality? So here's the question for you to think about. You as a person, do you have any control over the kind of person you are, over your personality? I think there's good arguments to say that a lot of it is beyond your control. So certainly there's a genetic component to our personalities that we get at birth. We can't change that. And I think a lot of it comes from unconscious social influences, your parents, your friends, events that happen to you. And a lot of it happens when you're too young to really understand what's happening and exert control. As humans, I think we just subconsciously imitate the things we see around us. And so for a lot of your life, you've just been subconsciously imitating, and that's been setting your personality, whether you like it or not. You will be like your parents, no matter how horrible that thought may seem to you right now. You will suddenly have this realization in 5 or 10 years, you're going on and buying something, and you realize, oh my God, my mom would have bought that. And then you have to decide, do I buy it anyway, or do I? So up through high school, I think you're really not developed enough to think about who you are or what kind of personality you'd like to have. At that age, you're just too busy trying to understand the world around you and figure out how to manage it. And the idea of somehow stepping outside yourself and reasoning about yourself and looking at yourself from the outside, you really can't. I think people can't really do that until around the time you come to college. I think it's when you get old enough that you can start doing that. But on the flip side, by the time you get to your late 20s, for most people it's too late. First, personalities seem to get fixed, and very few people have the ability to make significant changes in personality after their late 20s, which is kind of sad. Now, some people do. I'd encourage you to try and be like those people if you can, but it's hard. So if there's a window for controlling your personality, it's right now. I mean, really, don't waste time. You've got a few years left to do it. And so I would like to think that we have some ability to control what kind of personality we'll have. Just like we have ability to control, our body physique, by using exercise you can do for your body. Why should our personality be outside that control? So then the question is, well, how do you do that? Are there special exercises I can get for my personality? Or is there a book on Amazon, 7 Steps to an Extrovert Personality? I never saw that book, unfortunately, so I don't know if that exists. My suggestion is just imitate the best way. Just look around you, be observant. You'll see people with personality characteristics that you really admire. And so that's great. And don't just admire them, try and be that way yourself. So I'll give you one example of a situation that was pretty influential for me. So back when I was a graduate student, I was a TA in the introductory programming class at Carnegie Mellon University. And I had a disagreement with a professor about something in the class. I don't even remember what it was about anymore, but my memory was I didn't like the way he was treating students. I thought something was unfair. And so I went to his office and talked to him about this, and I said, I think you should make this change. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, well, I explained again, I think this is important. You really should make this change. He said, no, I hear you, but no, I'm not going to do that. So I got kind of angry, and I began to insult him. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, John, that's not a very mature move, is it? And couldn't that be career limiting to insult your professor? And by the way, whatever happened to this reasonable person principle thing you've been talking to us about? Well, I was young and passionate. I had not yet fully internalized the reasonable person principle, but I was angry. And so I decided if I'm angry, then he has to be angry too. So I started insulting him. And the strangest thing happened. He just didn't take insult. He said, yeah, hey, what you're saying? No, I'm not going to change. And when that happened, that just made me angrier and angrier. It's like all the anger I wanted him to have was just building up in me instead. I got angry and more insulting, and finally basically my head exploded and I stormed out of his office. And then as I thought about that after a while, and I realized, whoa, what he did was actually really powerful. He just destroyed me by refusing to get angry. I thought, I need to be like that. So you may imagine I tend to get angry about many things back in those days. So I decided I'm not going to get angry as often anymore. And so, I don't know if this incident changed me or if it's just the natural mellowing that happens as you get older, but I almost never get angry now. You have a really hard time making me angry. In fact, you're welcome to try. Come up after class, and try insult my mother, for example, and I'll probably just laugh with you about it. There are a few things that get me angry, but almost nothing. Really, really hard to get me angry. But then along the way, I had an even deeper insight about this whole thing, which is I suddenly realized that an insult isn't something that just happens to you like catching a cold or getting struck by lightning. An insult is a choice. You have to choose to be insulted. And if you choose not to take insult, nobody can insult you. You can't do it. And that to me was a really interesting observation. And then I started thinking, why is it there are so many people in the world that are desperate to be insulted, just looking for opportunities where they can interpret something as an insult so they can wreak revenge on you or your family or your village or your religion or your country? Why is this? Wouldn't the world just be a much better place if people simply didn't take insults so easily? Sadly, I doubt that's going to happen, but just a really interesting thought that came out of this one incident where I blew my cool. So anyhow, back to the main theme here. Can you choose your personality? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But even if you can't, I would suggest it's worth living your life as if you can. You know, take the growth mindset and apply it even to your own personality as well as all the other things you learn. I think if you do that, I think you're more likely to be a happier person and lead a more fulfilling life. So that's the last of my thoughts for the weekend. I thought I would just remind you of, here's all the topics over the course of the quarter. So I hope some of these have triggered some thoughts in you that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise and gotten you to think about some bigger issues beyond just the nitty-gritties of operating systems. And actually, by the way, one thing I'd like to say is that people sometimes think of nerds as being, these very narrow-minded, detail-oriented people. I think you can be a very technical person and also really care about bigger issues like this as well. Those are not mutually exclusive. So, as you're thinking about the possibility of having a technical career, don't feel like you have to give up thinking about other important things in order to be technical. In fact, maybe you can use your technical skills to advance the societal goals that you have.